This week's edition of Sunday Sit Down brought to you by Cutshaw Chevrolet in Grapeland.
Super Cruise is the first truly hands-free driving assist technology being offered in the industry.
Personally, I was skeptical. I thought it was going to be somewhat of a gimmick, like, ooh, look at me, I'm letting go of the steering wheel. And I said, well, give it to me and I'll take it to a soccer tournament. On the way there, I ended up using it pretty much the whole way. On the way back, I used it exclusively on the freeway. I went hours without actually touching the system. I was just watching the world go by and enjoying the trip.
Super Cruise works basically on two specific technologies. The first technology is a precision LiDAR map data, and the second technology is a driver attention system. The driver attention system is specifically responsible for making sure that the customer's gaze stays on the road, and the precision LiDAR maps helps us to geo-fence the feature so that it only works on compatible freeways.
The benefit to Super Cruise is that it really allows you to relax. Rather than you constantly adjusting your speed and steering, Super Cruise will do that for you. So it works its way through traffic jams as well as long distances.
When it comes to Super Cruise, I always just tell people they have to drive it.
I have been here now for 7 months at Central Baptist Church. Prior to that, I was at Liberty Baptist Church in Naples, Texas, which is a little town up in the northeast corner of the state. Most people don't know where it is. But I was there for 10 years, and I did work bivocational. So I was a high school computer science teacher and a pastor. I taught high school computer science for 22 years. Was a high school football coach for 13 years. And then the Lord called me into ministry, and I've been doing that for 10 years now, a little over 10 years now.
When would you say you first felt the calling to become a preacher?
That's a difficult question because it happened over a period of time. When I was coaching, I really felt the Lord's call to the ministry. But I grew up in a family. My dad was a coach, a high school football coach for 30-something years, and that's growing up. That's all I ever wanted to do, and so I was going to follow in his tracks. And when the Lord started calling me to the ministry, I was like, "No, you got the wrong guy. You got the wrong guy. You picked the wrong. I'm a high school football coach. That's what I do, and so you need to go find. Well, see, I got a twin brother too." And so I was like, maybe you meant to, you're supposed to be talking to my twin brother, not me. Yeah. But that didn't, you can't just you can run away from God. And I did for a long time. And finally in 2011, I ended up having to quit coaching because of some back surgeries and that call into the ministry just kept getting stronger and stronger, and I was diving into studying everything that I could study. We retire, we go in the bookstore, I'm buying books, stacks of them. And so the funny thing is, I hadn't said anything to anybody. This was an internal struggle, me fighting off God, and we were driving back from the bookstore one day, and my wife looked at me. We were driving down the road, she goes, "All right, just tell me." "Tell you what?" She said, "You're being called to the ministry, aren't you?" And I was like, yeah, I am. And so I knew right then that was God's confirmation. And so I went the next Sunday, went and talked to our pastor, and it's been great ever since then.
God always gives the wise the information before the...
Yes. When she said that, I thought, this has got to be a confirmation, because I hadn't, I've been fighting it for years and didn't want to do it. But
well, my questions today aren't just about you as a pastor. They're also kind of about you as a person, as a man. What have you found to be the most difficult part of being a pastor? Going right with what you just said is just being
a man, being a human, there's a lot of demands personally, that you want to be able to minister and visit with everybody you possibly can. I want to sit down with our people. I want to go out and visit other people. And then there's so many demands. The hardest part is being able to say, okay, I got to squeeze all that in. And then, of course, I got a family. I got 3 kids. Take care of them. We're trying to buy a house. All of these things. The most difficult thing is saying, okay, prioritizing. What am I going to do? When am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? It becomes very difficult. But I guess it's part of the challenge in any job, really.
And what have you found to be the best part of the job, or what confirms the decision that you made to become a pastor?
The preaching part of it. I've always been afraid of public speaking. Growing up, I hated it. Even today, if I've got to stand up and give a presentation in front of a group of people, not at church, but when I was at school and we would have big assemblies or something and I had to stand up, and I would be so nervous and I was shaking in my palm. I just sweating. But when I get in the pulpit, when I stand up to preach, God just takes over, and all nerves go away, all stress goes away. I step up there and it's like, all right, God's in control, and it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling when I get done on Sunday mornings, and I'm like, wow, God, that was good.
Yeah. Some things are just meant to be, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I love the people. Working with the people is a lot of fun. So.
Could you tell me a little bit about Central Baptist Church? Is there a current mission or goal that the church or you are working on or working towards?
We, of course, I've only been here for 7 months. We just hired a youth pastor and a worship leader. I think he's been here a month and a half. And so there's a lot of things that that are changing, and so anytime you get a new leadership, you got a lot of things to change. But our mission, our goal, and it's something that we have it out on our sign out front that says our goal, our mission is to connect people with the love of God. And we want to take whatever measures we can to reach Houston County, to reach this community with the love of God, whatever that takes. Because some people have over the years, have kind of gotten away, and they don't understand the love of God, and they don't understand what He wants. And so that's our mission, is to connect people there.
Okay, here's kind of a philosophical question for you.
Okay.
What would you say that God wants from us, from each of us? What is it He expects or wants?
Well, first He wants our love, just as He loved us. He wants us to submit to Him and to love Him and to listen to Him, and He wants us to glorify Him in all that we do, and that's kind of on the vertical plane, between us and God. He wants us to have a relationship with Him, but on the horizontal plane, He wants us to love each other. Again, I think we find ourselves in the world in a lot of places that we are because of the fact that that love's not there. And that's a supernatural love that in our natural self is not there. It has to come from God. And so that's why we have to have the vertical aspect of it before we can ever really achieve the horizontal part of it. He has to be involved in order for us to accomplish his will of loving people.
Now, Pastor, you hear a lot these days about people say, well, there's not enough young people in church. First of all, do you consider that true and a problem to be solved? And if so, how do you think churches can solve that?
It is. I mean, it's an issue. I don't know if I would call it a problem, but it is an issue. I mean, you look at any statistic. They talk about decline of people in the church, and in order to reach a younger generation, I think you have to realize that you can't always continue doing things the same way. Just like, the way I do things now aren't the same way I used to do things, years ago. And so you have to understand that a different generation expects different things. They want different things. That doesn't change what we do. It doesn't change the gospel. It doesn't change any of that. But we've got to understand that Young people, young families are looking for something different. Where it used to be that people just went to church and they just did it. I mean, that's what you did. You went to church. Nowadays, that's not the case. And so you've got to give them an opportunity to be involved. You've got to give them an opportunity to serve. You've got to give them an opportunity to feel loved. You've got to give them an opportunity for their kids to feel loved. That's why it was so important for us to hire a youth pastor, was because we wanted to make sure that if somebody's coming to this church, especially a young family, and they got young kids, their kids are being loved on and being ministered to, as well as the parents. So overall, you've got to give them something what they want in the way that they want it, and then help them with their kids.
Now, you were saying you've been here about 7 months.
7 months.
Crockett, Houston County, with your wife and family, obviously. Tell us a little bit about that transition, what this community here, how you've been received, what this community is beginning to mean to you.
We came, and people laugh at me when I say this, I look at Crockett as a bigger town. If Naples had a population of like 1,300, or has a population. So for us to come here to Crockett, which is a population now of 6,300, something like that, is a big deal. But our time here, I said earlier, we're still trying to buy our house. That's been an adventure, and so we've been living in somebody else's house. But the people of Crockett have been so supportive and so loving and so just excited about and I've been thrilled by the people here in town, and it's quickly become home. Quickly become home.
Now, I know there's probably could be 1,000 answers to this, and it's going to depend on situations and everything else, but could you point to maybe a certain Bible passage, story, verse, something that means a lot to you or motivates you, inspires you when you need that?
I lean on one that I think people think is odd sometimes, but I like Isaiah chapter 6. In Isaiah chapter 6, Isaiah says, "In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord high and lifted up on his throne, and his robe filled the entire temple." It says there were angels there, and they had 6 wings, and with 2 they covered their feet, with 2 they covered their eyes, and with 2 they flew. But then it says, "And one called to the other and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, and the whole earth is filled with his glory." And when I see things today in our world, and I see just the struggle that we're going through in the day that we're going through, I think God created all of this. He is holy, and his glory does fill us, and his glory fills the world. But there's going to be a day that we're going to be like Isaiah, except we're going to stand there, and we're not going to be here looking at him. We're going to be there looking at God, and we're going to be like one of those angels that are worshiping God. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, because he is so much more than we can ever imagine. And I find peace in that. I find comfort in that, because I know that he's in control, and he's more powerful, and his glory does fill the entire earth, and it fills me. And that's one of my things I want to do as a pastor, is I preach the glory of Jesus Christ, and I can't wait for the day that I get to see that.
Well, when we get there, that river that all men must cross, have you ever thought of when you meet God, come face to face, and is there ever been something you thought you would want to say, or a question you would want answered, or something?
Oh, that's a difficult one, and people say that. Oh, I'm gonna ask God why this, why why did this happen? What happened to the dinosaurs? That's why me? What was it? And I don't, where did the love come from? Like how can you love me that way? That you did all that you did, that you gave up your son, that you died on the cross, that you protected me, that you covered me, that all of these things, and going, but I wasn't worth that. Like, why? To me, that's amazing, to know that God says you're my child, and I love you, and I'm going to protect you, and I want to walk with you, and I want to bless you, and I look at myself and go, you know, I mean, I tell our people all the time, see, if that was me, I wouldn't do it. So my thing is why, you know, why? You know, what is it about us as humans that makes you want to love us the way that you do?
Last question. This Sunday is National Come Back to Church Sunday. Somebody watching this video who has never seen you preach, maybe they've never been to church in their life, haven't been in 20 years. What could you say to them to maybe inspire them to come out and visit y'all this coming Sunday?
Yeah, so this week is National Back to Church Sunday, and it's a wonderful opportunity for anybody who, you know, school started, kids are back in their routines, families are kind of getting settled back into things, and it's a time to begin to start anew. And this week, the whole idea is hope is here, and then we've got banners up, and you know, hope is here, and that's the message I will be preaching, is a message of hope, because you know, you mentioned people that have never been to church or people that have been out of church for a long time. A lot of people, what they're looking for is something to hope in, something to bring them comfort, something to bring them a peace, because in the crazy world that we're living in, you know, we you just turn on the news. You don't see any hope. You don't see any peace. You don't see any love. And the only true place we're going to find that hope is in Jesus Christ. And that would be my message for, you know, people that are looking for a church home, or, you know, maybe looking to get into church for the first time. Hey, we have a message of hope. We have a message of love. And I know where you can find that. And so if you're looking for it, I know where you can find it, and we'll talk about that on Sunday morning.